On this week's episode of the Nerf Report, we got 6 brand new video games to talk about. A brand new batch of Switch 2 leaks have just dropped. EA gave us our first look at the next Battlefield game. E3 is being rebranded, and Rooster Teeth is back from the grave, baby. All of this and so much more on this week's episode of the Nerf Report. Can you see me? Let's just film the video.
Zip it! The ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage is here!
Oh my god! Yes, negativity sells, and it sure as hell makes clicking your thumbnails a lot easier. But I, as a gamer, as a nerd, as a creator, I am so tired of being upset for clicks.
Are you listening?
Welcome, strangers from distant lands and friends of old. You've been summoned to another episode of the Nerf Report. Thank you so much for joining us for another week's episode. I feel like I should start off this show by apologizing. We had all the intentions in the world of doing daily episodes this week, but unfortunately, life happens sometimes, and this week, life required my family and I to fly back to Arizona for a funeral to bury a very close family member. So apologies for not having the daily content out there for all of you this week and not being super present in the comment section and on social, but life does have a funny way of popping up every once in a while. But the important thing is we are back. Life carries on. We are all here, and this is episode 15 of the newly rebooted Nerf Report, which is brought to you ad-free thanks to our Nerf Gaming News members. For the low price of $1.99 a month, you can support independent games media just like this show, and also help us keep the lights up. Which that money goes directly back into the show and helps us keep the lights on, invest into new content, do all that fun stuff. So special shout out to the Nerf Gaming News members who are already part of this awesome program. You get exclusive content, you help us get the show, plus you get your name down here on this scroll, which who doesn't want that, right? Like, get your name on the show, prove that you're a part of making something special happen. So yes, thank you to everybody who's done that. If you haven't done so already, great opportunity to say hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and please share the video with your grandma. And we got a lot of stories to break down this week. Probably the biggest one is the Rooster Teeth story, and I am beyond excited to talk about this story. But before we do that, we obviously have to introduce you to the first game of the week. This one is a 3D action-adventure game that is finally coming to PlayStation. Check out Slime Heroes.
Guardians supposed to protect this land failed. Corruption stalks every corner now. To be saved by a slime. What has the world come to?
I believe that if we can find the lost guardian, we may be able to help restore balance and peace to the land.
Run along now, little slime. See how tough you are, we shall.
Yes!
Save the Guardians! Save the world! A great tale this will be!
Rooster Teeth is coming back. Yeah, this might be the year of the snake. But I think moving forward, 2025 is officially the year of the Rooster. It's just been completely hijacked. In case you missed it, let's pull it up. In a post over on all of Rooster Teeth's social channels, they revealed that the OG founder, Bernie Burns himself, has acquired the rights to Rooster Teeth and is hinting very heavily at a reboot, which, say what you will about Rooster Teeth or their content or the people that are involved, I think that as a creator, this story for me is super romantic. Because look, I mean, at the end of the day, Bernie and his friends, they started off like any creator, like myself, creating content, releasing it out to the internet, and then they just grew it out to something crazy. Bernie and his friends, they founded Rooster Teeth following the success of Red versus Blue, and then, I think it was like 2014, Full Screen Media acquired Rooster Teeth, and then, of course, I think it was Warner Brothers acquired Full Screen on that end, and then in 2020, Bernie Burns departed Rooster Teeth. And then I think the next big news coming out of there was that like Warner Brothers was shutting down Rooster Teeth. So like fast forward to today, we go full circle. Bernie Burns has lived the dream of every single creator. You create something that the massive entities are jealous of and they want to buy it from you. And you sell it. And you get to see your baby grow up and go on to be successful. And then you get to get it back. You get to get that baby back, and you are now the owner of it. And so congratulations, Bernie. I think this is great news. I love the fact that it's gone full circle, and Rooster Teeth is back in the hands of the Burns family. And I will say, during this trailer, or during this video, I loved the trope that like dad left to go get milk, and he's finally coming back from the grocery store after multiple years. Like, Dad's home, I got the milk. I absolutely loved that joke. I audibly laughed on the plane when I watched this. And, now that the dust has settled on this announcement, I think it's kind of cool. The details are starting to emerge of what exactly this might look like. So I wanted to dive into these. So Bernie Burns and his wife, Ashley Burns, they host a podcast called The Morning Somewhere. And it's a really great show. It's kind of basically dives into kind of like the fun, nerdy news that you want to know on a daily basis. And, basically, what came out of this podcast where they were talking about the Rooster Teeth announcement is that Bernie's production company, Box Canyons Productions, has acquired the Rooster Teeth brand, not the company. And what that essentially includes is like the Rooster Teeth website, the Rooster Teeth channels, all the social stuff, and obviously the YouTube channels as well. But it doesn't include the actual company, the former employees, the equipment, the contracts, the studios, or anything from that perspective that Rooster Teeth may have had in the previous company. Plus, I think the thing that a lot of people were overlooking is like they hear Rooster Teeth is coming back and they're like, dude, we're going to start getting Funhouse again, or we're going to start getting Achievement Hunter again. But the reality is the archives of Funhouse and Achievement Hunter, I think they were sold to Viz Media by Warner Brothers. So Bernie did not get that in part of this buyout. The other thing is, like, Elise and James Willems of Funhouse are absolutely killing it on their own. I think Elise, last I saw, is doing some, like, PBS gaming show, so that's kind of cool. James, as well, has some content that's popping out. And then the Achievement Hunters, all of them are basically going off and doing their own stuff, and I think that that's super cool. And so I think it's important to, like, gauge your excitement here, because, yes, Rooster Teeth is back. But a lot of the franchises you've grown to love over the recent years, they're probably not coming back. In fact, Bernie mentioned this on the podcast. I wrote it down, basically saying like the long-range plan is to have a production slate that is up and running with new shows by summer of 2025. And in the press release that they released, essentially they said that, hey, we've got renewed productions of classic shows, a new original audio adventure, and then they're going to be reimagining one of Bernie's first films called The Schedule. And I can't wait. Rooster Teeth holds a very special place in my heart for multiple reasons. I love the content that was created for years. I loved the Achievement Hunter stuff. I loved Funhouse, even when it was like the inside gaming type of stuff that was coming over as well. And Rooster Teeth also holds a very special place in my heart because I had the privilege of working with them. For about a year. It wasn't like a big amount of time, but for like off and on for a year. I was so incredibly grateful for that opportunity, not just because it gave me experience in like seeing how other people do things, but I was invited to Rooster Teeth by Ashley Burns. We kind of talked over social media. They invited me to go to the studio to come see how they produced things on the No, and I got to meet the team. I got to guest host on one of the episodes, and I thought it was super cool. And what that invitation did for me, I can't even express it, because like, I was so young in content creation, and I wasn't sure if like this was going to be something that I was going to create long term, but going there and seeing the tour and meeting Ashley and building kind of that relationship, it showed me that, holy crap, like this thing that we're doing, this show that we're producing in our garage on a weekly basis, it's possible. It's possible to scale this thing out, to create this and evolve this into a production company where you can make a living by doing this, and you can have employees, and you can have editors, and you can have thumbnail artists, and a marketing team, and a sales team. And I am forever grateful for the opportunity of getting to see the behind the scenes of Rooster Teeth. And I always look at that moment as like the jet fuel moment of where I am today, because seeing that it was possible over there was like, okay, if it's possible over there, it's possible over here. And I'm so grateful for that. And I don't know, man, like that whole experience just stuck with me. And I always said that like, that's going to be something that I pass on. If we get to a point with this show where we can bring in new creators or upstart people to show them like, hey, what you're trying to accomplish is real. This can go. I want to pay that forward and pass that on so much. But, you know, another part of this story that came out the days after that I really appreciate here was that on Bernie and Ashley's podcast, they discussed like the de-shitification of the internet. And I think that I have grown to love that framing so well, because I've been struggling with the internet over the last couple months. And we've talked about it here on the show before, but like the internet, at least the version of the internet that we have today, is so wild. At times, it literally feels so defeating, not only as someone that scrolls it, but it feels so defeating as a creator. You know, you go through there, you see the comment section on other people's videos, and you're just like, oh my God, like there's no positive comments out there anymore. People don't hit the like button. People always want to hit the dislike button. If a game comes out, people just want to shit on the game. If a news story drops, they want to shit on that news story. If a creator is struggling in life, they want to double down and shit on that creator. And it's not fun. And it's not fun to be on the internet. So to hear that Bernie and Ashley are striving to use this Rooster Teeth acquisition as their opportunity to de-shitify their section of the internet, I definitely, I find hope in that. And I find hope that there's other creators that have a similar concept over there. So, but anyway, shout out to Bernie, shout out to Ashley. Congratulations on getting the ownership of Rooster Teeth back. And I think that not only is this a big W for you, but I think it's a massive W for the internet as a whole. So mazel tov, best of luck. I can't wait to see what y'all do over there. Now, our next story that we're going to be diving into is that these Nintendo Switch 2 leaks continue to prosper on the internet. But before we dive into the latest rounds of leaks, we have one more game to show you. This is the latest chapter in the long-historied WWE video game franchise. Check out the latest gameplay trailer for WWE 2K25.
Who's on who? Said you let it ring, but it never goes through. We bang, everything you got. Tell them nigga that we take the whole lot. You ain't got no backbone. I get out the trap, I ain't got a trap phone. I got P's and M's and K's and O's. They're a little bit letters, so I'm letting them know. Give them high fives, that was just a middle finger. Diamonds in my panty, do the bobo when I linger. They think you're a rapper, I think I'm a singer. Catch me in the cut, I treat the chorus like a ringer. Give me something, then give me something if you're bad. My mother calls me mad, but I think I'm Jack the Lad. I need to start my sentences with sorry, may I add. It's the same with a house. I score a goal and I do my dance. I beat the crowd. Tell them brothers wanna do me something, but I doubt it. Tell them little that we take the whole lot. You ain't got no no backbone. You ain't got no backbone.
Another week has come and gone, which means we have another round of Nintendo Switch 2 leaks to talk about. And you know what? Yeah, I think it's funny because like Nintendo came out this week and they confirmed the Switch 2 Direct, essentially saying like the Direct will be taking place on April 2nd at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And I think internally for Nintendo, there's probably a lot of people who are like, I wish this Direct was tomorrow, right? Like there's so much information that they need to cover in this Direct, and they're not the ones controlling the narrative. The internet is controlling the narrative for Nintendo, and I guarantee you, they absolutely hate that. In fact, this week, the long-rumored theory that the Switch 2 Joy-Cons could be used as a mouse pretty much was confirmed, because the patents, let's pull those up real quick, the patents from Nintendo were published online, showing an individual holding the Switch 2 Joy-Cons like the mouse of a computer. Now, to be fair, we did see this get teased during the Nintendo Switch 2 revealed trailer that dropped last month, and essentially the idea is that like you could take your Joy-Cons from going like this to being able to just put them on the table and moving around. And like now that I've got my hand in this shape, I guess I'm just trying to figure out like what games you'd play like this. Like maybe you put it on the table, you play games, maybe you could do work. Maybe they've got like Nintendo's Excel or Nintendo's Word, maybe Microsoft Office will finally be on the Nintendo Switch. Maybe we get a browser and this is how we can kind of move, but being honest, knowing Nintendo, there's no shot that this device is probably going to have a browser at all. But I don't know, I guess just thinking about like holding the device in that direction, first-person shooters could be fun, right? Maybe like you get the PC concept and instead of using the joystick to aim, you use like the Joy-Con as a mouse to play on a first-person shooter. It could make COD pretty cool. Maybe you get some like RTS games out of it where it's just like clicking. Or we get like doom scrolling TikTok and social media. So we get like social media platforms on the service and we can scroll using our Joy-Con mouse. But anyway, it's just interesting because it's not something that I look at the previous Switch and I'm like, man, really would love to be able to use my Joy-Con as a mouse. I've never said that once. And for me, that's where I'm like, man, this Direct can't come soon enough. Because I look at this and I'm just like, why? What do you need this for? Like what? In what world do you want to hold your mouse like outside of like obviously, you know, first-person shooters and aiming like on a computer? Like I get that, but like what? There's got to be some other reason, right? Nintendo's gonna have some other purpose for being able to like use a mouse, and I'm very excited to hear that. But the other Nintendo Switch story that came out this week was involving Take-Two, right? And the Take-Two pretty much came out and said like, hey, we're planning on fully supporting the Nintendo Switch 2 and no games are off the table, which obviously you've got Take-Two, you've got Rockstar, you got GTA 6, and the internet goes wild. And they're like, GTA 6 coming to the Switch 2. Take-Two CEO confirms Grand Theft Auto 6 coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. Can the Switch 2 run Grand Theft Auto 6? Tune in tonight at 8 to find out more. And I guess like where I'm at here, realistically speaking, is like, hold up. Okay, we don't know what the hardware is. Nintendo still has not confirmed the hardware officially. So we don't even know if the Switch 2 could handle Grand Theft Auto 6, right? Last we heard from Data Foundry was like, it was estimated that the Switch 2 will be consistent with like the PlayStation 4 Pro. Spoiler alert, PlayStation 4 Pro likely not going to run Grand Theft Auto 6. So I guess I just don't see it running natively. Technically, you could have it run via the cloud. That would make sense. But like, I think what you have to do is when you see Take-Two, yes, we immediately think Grand Theft Auto, but let's think about all the other games, right? Civilization, it just launched for the Nintendo Switch. I think that it would make sense that that game would be available for the Switch 2 as well. WWE 2K25, another one, no brainer. PGA Tour 2K25, totally makes sense. Borderlands 4, makes sense. NBA 2K, obviously all of those games from 2K and Take-Two make sense. Put them in there. But, you know, the fact that like we immediately go Grand Theft Auto 6, I think is very disingenuous, and it's just like, let's get the expectations right here, because we're going to have people that show up to this direct, and at the end of it, they're like, there was no Grand Theft Auto 6 announcement. What the hell, man? Grand Theft Auto 6 is not going to be on the Switch. This thing's going to be terrible. When it's like, in reality, we don't even know if this thing can run Grand Theft Auto 6. But anyway, back to the story. I want to dive into the specific comments here because I think that does explain a few things. Strauss Zelnick, basically the CEO of Take-Two, was asked about this on an investor's call. And essentially what Strauss said, according to Eurogamer, we've had obviously a long-standing relationship with Nintendo, and we've supported the platform when it makes sense for the individual release. There was a time when Nintendo platforms are really geared at younger audiences, and that was reflected in our release schedule. And now, today, the Switch, and potentially with Switch 2, the Switch device can support any audience. As you may have noted, Civilization 7 is now on the Switch, so while we have nothing specific to report, we actually would fully expect to support the Switch 2. Which, look, I think that's very important. They're not announcing anything, so any Nintendo fan watching, don't expect Grand Theft Auto 6 unless it officially gets announced. Don't hype yourself up. You're just going to be disappointed. And look, let's just pull back once again and realistically look at this. Obviously, Grand Theft Auto 6 available for the Nintendo Switch 2 would be massive. But Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online being available for the Nintendo Switch 2 also is a massive deal. Because keep in mind, the OG Nintendo Switch sold like 150 million units. And none of the other copies of Red Dead or Grand Theft Auto 5 from PlayStation or Xbox work on the Nintendo. So you better believe you're going to have people double dipping. They've got their new shiny Nintendo Switch 2s and they're like, dude, I really wish I could play Grand Theft Auto 5 right now or play GTA Online or play Red Dead Redemption. They're going to buy those games. Even if you said 10% of those consoles are going to buy it. Hey, at the end of the time, if we sold 15 million additional copies, that's a big deal. Yeah, well, 100%. We will continue to do that. But anyway, obviously, the hype for Nintendo is continuing to build. And I think that for a lot of gamers, including myself, we are just looking forward to this reveal that is coming forth on April 2nd and counting down the days. 53 days, to be exact. We've got a ticker out here behind the camera. 53 days until the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. I can't wait, the internet can't wait, and we will obviously continue to cover this story as much as humanly possible as it develops. So if you're wanting more Switch 2 news, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stick right here. But moving on, we've got another big story to talk about. This one in regards to a brand new Batman single-player game. But before we jump into that, we obviously have another game to introduce you to. That's right, if you're a fan of torture, mind-bending video games like Only Up, this game is definitely for you. This is a physics-based adventure driving game. Check out Driving is Hard.
Meet Jeff. His journey doesn't start with triumph, but with failure. Like a lot of failure. His mission? To climb an unforgiving mountain with a bathtub on wheels. It's absurd. It's impossible. But Jeff is determined to make it work. But this isn't just about the climb. It's about the battle within. Doubt and fear challenge him at every step, threatening to pull him down. With every fall, the mountain mocks him. With every leap, he defies it. This is a story of grit over doubt, of building your way forward when the world tries to hold you back. Driving is Hard, available on Steam now.
Rocksteady is reportedly hard at work on a new single-player Batman game, which, let me begin by saying thank you, Gaming Jesus, for making this story possible. Man, I have been wanting a single-player Batman video game for so long, and I am beyond excited that this is happening. So anyway, in case you missed it, this story comes from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who dropped a brand new article that talked about Warner Brothers and how they're working on refocusing their efforts internally to like double down on what works. And specifically, what works for Warner Brothers right now is basically Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, and obviously DC. and specifically DC is like Batman, and we'll dive into that because apparently on the DC front, they are going back to what we all have come to love. Batman, single-player Batman game. Specifically, Jason Schreier writing that Rocksteady is working on a single-player Batman video game that unfortunately is several years away. Now, because it is several years away, obviously, no other details than that, right? We don't know what there's going to be as far as like villains. We don't know where the setting is going to be, or like what the concept is. Is Batman alive in this one? Has he come back from the dead, or where on the timeline does this one land? But I gotta say, either way, dude, I'm all in. You give me another Batman Arkham game, I will buy it day one. I will play it. I will platinum the game. Like, please give me more Batman. And I think what's also interesting here is like seeing like they're not joking about doubling down, right? Jason Schreier wrote that Warner Brothers was pitched multiple DC properties. I wrote these down. John Constantine game. Warner Brother Games Montreal pitched them on this, and that got rejected. A Flash game was in the works, and that got shot down because of the movie. Obviously, kind of flopped. And Monolith is still working on Wonder Woman, which is the upcoming video game that's basically going to use the Nemesis system from Shadows of Mordor, where like Wonder Woman can create allies with her enemies and use like the lasso of truth. And I think it just sounds like such a sick project. But the other part of this article is like, hey, yes, this game's coming. Yes, it sounds cool, but its fate is still in question, right? Warner Brothers has not made up their mind on whether or not this is going to go through. And even Jason himself was like, hey, number one, this game is still several years away. Plus, it could be canceled. And it's already cost the studio like $100 million. So like at this point, we might be seeing like the Wonder Woman game get scrapped, which I think would be a massive disservice. And I think that you could create such a really cool franchise that people would be interested in, right? You don't have to just make Batman games. I don't think people had a problem with an idea of a Suicide Squad game. I think it was the fact that like, it's a live service, right? We don't want a live service Suicide Squad game. Nobody's asking for that. We would love a narrative-driven Suicide Squad game. Even the Avengers, I would say. If the Avengers had like a different concept of going forward and it was like a story-driven single-player game where you could pick your characters and pick your heroes, I think it would still do well, but I don't think it would have like had the kind of the mark of shame over it where people are like, oh, I don't want to play that game. I will say, as far as like DC games go, and this is just me putting it out into the universe, so hopefully it might happen, a Green Arrow video game would be cool. I've always kind of dreamed about the idea of like an Oliver Queen style Arkham video game where, you know, you get to play as the Green Arrow, it's an open world, you get through the city and you fight people, you archer, you shoot arrows and bows, and you basically like go up to people and you're like, you have failed this city. I think it would be so incredible, and it could be done so well. And I would recommend Warner Brothers, if you're watching, please and thank you, Green Arrow video game for Christmas. I would love it. But I always thought that would be kind of a fun game. But anyway, as far as like DC content goes, it does truly sound like it's going to be like Wonder Woman, Batman. Those are the two focuses on the DC side. And I also think it's interesting that like they're restructuring and refocusing here and not just like giving up completely, because last I read, there was a report out there that said like Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. It failed in the eyes of the company, right? Like it cost the company, I think it was like a $200 million loss or something like that for Warner Brother Games. So obviously they're like, yo, don't ever do that again. Let's not make that game. Let's go back to the games that work. And they're putting that team and making them focus onto Batman. But the other side of this too is like, maybe what's making this like not as big of an issue is while Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League did kind of struggle, you know, Hogwarts Legacy absolutely dominated. It was the best-selling game of the year, and I'm sure that there are people inside of Warner Brothers who are like, how do we replicate that? How do we take that Hogwarts Legacy format and put it on Batman? How do we put it on Wonder Woman? How do we create something that's fun and unique and people want to play it and it sells like hotcakes? But yeah, I don't know. This story, when I saw the title, it definitely made me smile. You know, the idea of a single-player Batman video game just makes me very, very happy. It's the game that I've wanted. I obviously don't have time to play multiplayer games with all my friends or to be catching up with everybody. I just, where I'm at in life, single player is kind of where my niche is. And the idea that we're getting more single player Batman games that hopefully are like Arkham, yeah, I'm all in. Absolutely love that idea. Now, unfortunately, No release date, so we got a lot of time to wait until the next Batman game. But here is a game that you don't have to wait as long. This one is a multiplayer murder mystery game called It Was You.
Hello? Anyone there? Jesus, Sam, you scared the hell out of me.
We got some brand new details about the next Battlefield video game. Yeah, as if 2025 wasn't wild enough. I mean, we're getting a brand new Doom game, we're getting a new Grand Theft Auto, we're getting a new Ghost of Tsushima, we're getting a new Death Stranding, a new Borderlands game, and now you're telling me we're getting a new Battlefield game as well? RIP my savings account. Now, the news for this new Battlefield game did kind of drop this week, and it came across two fronts. First, over on X, there was an 18 seconds of gameplay footage that were shown highlighting EA's new Battlefield Labs. So let's pull this video up because it's jam-packed, man. I mean, you got footage of planes crashing into buildings, people falling from the sky, buildings are collapsing like left and right, bullets obviously flying all over the place. You're charging into battle, there's explosions, tanks, city combat, urban combat, everything that you want from a game like Battlefield. And realistically, these 18 seconds left me wanting more. Like, I want more from this trailer. And obviously, this isn't supposed to be a reveal of like, here's what to expect from the new Battlefield game, but like, oh, am I thirsty? Do I want more from this game? Because what I saw right there looks absolutely sick. Now, as we mentioned, this was kind of a teaser to the new Battlefield Labs, which according to EA is essentially them reaching out to their community and trying to collaborate on the future of the game. According to EA, Battlefield Labs will allow players a space to play and explore, test concepts and mechanics with fans before the series comes out, which I get. Like, this is really cool, right? It's cool that EA is listening to the people that love their game, and they're like, no, we're not going to try to tell you what a Battlefield game is supposed to be. Tell us what the game is supposed to be. Tell us what you want from the next Battlefield game, and we'll make it. I think that's really cool. But the other side of this coin is like, is EA just trying not to hire like quality assurance testers? Like, they're like, we don't need QA testers. We could just let the fans test the video game. Like, why do we got to pay people, right? I mean, we could just give it out to the public and have them test it for free. Anyway, the other side of this is, unfortunately, like, with the details we got, there's no release date in sight here. We did get some hints, right? The next Battlefield game is currently pre-alpha, so it's not finished. So I can tell you, like, it's not going to be first half of this year. Second half of this year might be, like, a reach. In fact, EA told investors that Battlefield, or the next chapter in Battlefield, best guess is that it will launch before the start of the next fiscal year, which starts in April 2026, which means from now till April 2026, we could get the next Battlefield game. And I think that, honestly, if EA is looking to make this the most successful game possible, expect a delay, or expect them to just wait until Grand Theft Auto is announced. Because I could totally see EA being like, so, Rockstar, what's your fall look like? Specifically, what does your October 16th look like? You do anything special? And, I do want to clarify, because I know in the beginning of this video we kind of joked about like it coming out this year, but I think it's a very safe bet that Battlefield, or whatever the next Battlefield is called, will launch in 2026. Like, I can tell you, EA does not want to rush this game. You look at the last Battlefield game, and while it was fun and cool and really pretty to look at, I don't feel like that really resonated and it captured an audience similar to the size of like Call of Duty or Fortnite or even like Marvel Rivals. So I think that like they're really trying to hammer this one in and make it work. And plus, they don't want to mess up that first impression. Again, so delays are always on the table when it comes to games of this size and magnitude. But you also look at Grand Theft Auto 6. If Grand Theft Auto 6 gets delayed into 2026, yeah, there's a good chance that we could see this at the end of 2025. But like realistically, it doesn't sound like GTA is really wanting to push it into 2026. So I could see them saying like, hey, we'll launch Battlefield 3 months after Grand Theft Auto 6 to make sure that like we're not going to lose any sales, to make sure that it's not going to be a distraction to our players. But I don't know. I mean, that's just my speculation here. We could get to 2026 and like both games launch within the matter of weeks. And EA's just like, why didn't the game sell well? I don't understand. But anyway, either way, the footage looks sick. I personally cannot wait for for the new Battlefield game. As a fan of the series, I've got to say, this trailer or this 18 seconds, it looked so intense. And so, like, if you can maintain this intensity through the entire match and still capture what makes Battlefield cool, like those Battlefield moments, I think you have a grand slam on your hands. And I personally cannot wait to see more. And we might see it soon. We might see a full-length trailer coming up at E3 or the new rebranded version of E3, which we're going to dive into in our next story. But before then, we do have one more game to introduce you to. This one is a co-op action roguelike called Sworn.
Peggy 16.
E3 is coming back with a fresh coat of paint. Yeah, the organizers behind E3, the ESA, they announced over on X this week. Can we pull this post up real quick? A new event called iiCon, an event where visionaries and innovators from the video game industry and beyond converge to unlock limitless potential for interactive entertainment. And I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, iiCon, or maybe it's iiCon. You got two I's, so I. Oh, it's two I's. Maybe it's a Roman numeral. Maybe it's 2con. And, look, there was a lot of marketing talk in that first section, so I wanted to make sure we kind of talked about exactly what this is. Essentially, this is going to be the replacement for E3. The Electronics Entertainment Expo is dead, and it's one of the conventions that were killed by the internet and just developers doing directs. Like, back in the day, E3 was the dopest time of the year. As a kid, I absolutely loved E3, sitting down over the weekends, watching all the games. And look, Summer Games Fest is cool, the Game Awards are cool, but E3 was the shit. And, I look back at it and I'm like, dude, that was some peak gamer moments for me. But we also ran over to the iiCon's website to kind of figure out what this is going to be. And it's the Interactive Innovation Conference. So it is iiCon? Or is it iiCon? iiCon. According to the site, the event will be taking place at the Fontainebleau Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada, April 27th through the 30th of 2026. Attendees will get access to keynotes and discussions, workshops, and networking opportunities. And we've already got a list of companies that are attending, with iiCon listing Amazon Games, Disney, EA, Epic Games, Microsoft, Nintendo, PlayStation, Square Enix, Take-Two, Ubisoft, and Warner Brother Games. And look, based off of what we're seeing from this site here, I've got to assume that similar to the way that E3 was in the past, this is going to be an industry-focused show. And it doesn't really sound like it's going to be opened to the public. Plus, it's also kind of hard to get excited right now because it doesn't really sound like there's going to be a floor with demos. It sounds like a typical networking convention with keynote speakers, but I don't know. It just doesn't really give me the old E3 hype levels. Obviously, this is the initial announcement. We'll hear more as we get closer, but I don't know, dude. It's just, how will this blend in? Because the industry is so fragmented right now. I mean, you got your Summer Games Fest, you got your IGN shows, you got your indie showcases, your State of Plays, your Dev Directs, your Nintendo Directs, your Game Awards. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the iiCon event carves out their own niche in this already fragmented world of attention. So we will be paying very close attention to that. And who knows, maybe we'll go, maybe we'll stream it, whatever it turns out to be, we'll definitely try to participate. But that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for carving out a little bit of your weekend to hang out with me. And thank you for your continued support of our channel. As always, I appreciate everything you guys do, showing up, watching the videos, hitting that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment on the videos, sharing it with your grandma. New one. Tell somebody you love them this week. And until next time, my friends, I'll see you in the next video.